Qualitative and quantitative research methodologies for critically examining the extent of the widespread disparity, abandonment, and severely distressed conditions commonly found in the United States are examined through the lens of Fourth World theory. This theory provides a basis for exploring how historical development patterns, as well as structural and cultural forces, contribute to these conditions. With the city of Gary, Indiana as an exemplar, this research examines how such patterns are present in virtually all cities, towns, as well as suburban and rural places throughout the United States. The exploration emphasizes and demonstrates how the social construction of race and its manipulation for the sake of power and greed has systematically undermined each and every aspect of the overall quality of life, the premise of American exceptionalism, and the idea of the American dream. Race indeed is a social construction, and as Ta-Nehisi Coates poetically espouses, and I quote, "But race is the child of racism, not the father," unquote. Central to Fourth World theory is the premise that the scale and magnitude of the institutional abandonment of inner-city communities, towns, suburban and rural spaces, and places in the United States is not only costly to disadvantaged populations, but to all Americans. The disadvantaged, relegated to residing in Fourth World cities like Gary, have and continue to suffer from deindustrialization, historic segregation and discrimination patterns, suburban sprawl, erosion of a viable tax base, racism, the inability to embrace the concept of desegregation in civil rights legislation, fear, despair, crumbling infrastructure systems, disinvestment in urban school systems, and environmental justice issues. This Fourth World nation does not have the right to preach to the world from its pulpit of exceptionalism. Civic myths about triumphs over racial injustice have become central to the recitation of a vigorous and strident form of American exceptionalism. The idea of the United States as both unique and a universal nation. Martin Luther King once described the conditions for his sole proletariat citizens of color in the United States as comparable to living on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. Over the past half-century since King's appraisal and the subsequent and tragic assassination, the landmass of the island has continued to expand exponentially to a dimension that is not so lonely after all. Fueled by manipulation of capital, greed, selfishness, relentless and curiously amplified religious, ethnic, and gender and class-based discrimination throughout its history, the island may be best described in every respect as a colony.